Thanks for joining us on Capitol View. I'm Fred Martino. We have a lot of ground to cover as we continue our look at laws passed this year by the Illinois legislature. Topping the show this week, I am so pleased to welcome Illinois State Senator Dale Fowler. Senator, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Honor to have you, Senator, and there's a whole lot to talk about, so I'm going to go right into it. And I want to begin with a change to the Juvenile Court Act. You sponsored legislation that now allows certain hospital and agency records to be used in court proceedings with abused, neglected, or dependent minors. Tell us about this and why you worked for this change.
Absolutely. It's very crucial legislation. I actually worked with Representative Patrick Windhorst at his house. He carried it on the in the House of Representatives, and I carried it in the Illinois State Senate. And it is House Bill 1434. And what this does, it's going to free up opportunities for our the court system to be able to have the records, as you mentioned, for abused, neglected, and independent minors. Unfortunately, too often minors are abused and neglected, and their medical records are needed in court proceedings, and they've been held up. So unfortunately, what happens is the court would have to get approval from the head of a hospital in order to get these records. So what this does, it alleviates a lot of the burdensome restrictions to be able to have these medical records in juvenile court hearings, so that someone with an attorney or a judge can request these documents from the hospital and not have to go through the burdensome procedures to be able to give these juveniles the records will be in the courts in support of these juveniles. So this is going to simplify the record process and have those records admitted to courts proceedings much exponentially and efficiently.
So important, and I'm glad we had a chance to highlight that. I want to move to another piece of legislation that was approved. I know you sponsored a change that allows some new options for license plates for people who have disabled family members. Tell us about that.
Yes, absolutely. There's, license plates for disabled family members, and sometimes they don't have the access to be able to have to go to a handicap area in a Walmart or wherever it may be. But also in this legislation, it gives the legislators that have become disabled, that have put their years of service in to the state of Illinois, that have the retired state legislative plates, will be able to implement a handicap plate for those legislators that have served the state of Illinois and have become handicapped, to have access to the resources that they need to be able to park. All
right. Well, I want to get to a timely thing that you want to highlight that I think is so important, something that people will enjoy and also is an important part of economic development. The weekend of June 22nd, the Southern Illinois Made Expo. Tell us about that.
Yes, that's going to be July 22nd and 23rd at the City of Marion Pavilion. This is something that I created along with my staff in 2018 to be able to showcase and highlight the incredible Southern Illinois made products and manufacturing that we have right here in Southern Illinois. When I became a member of the General Assembly and sworn in 2017, I started traveling around the district, and I was educated to a lot of these manufacturers that I really didn't know a whole lot about. And it's truly phenomenal what is made and manufactured and actually sent all over the world from right here in Southern Illinois. And then also we want to showcase our destinations, our state parks, our Shawnee National Forest, and historical sites. So we came up with the idea of having a Southern Illinois Made Expo. And we had our first one in 2018. Then we had one in 2019 at the pavilion. Unfortunately, when we were burdened by COVID, we didn't have the 2021. We were able to go back live in person last year. And then this year, we're going to do it again, July 22nd and 23rd. And it's truly phenomenal to be able to bring all these companies and manufacturers under one roof. And some of the correspondence that we get back from the thousands of people that attend is that, well, we didn't know this was made and manufactured here in Southern Illinois. And it also gives our manufacturers an opportunity to network with each other. There's been a lot of major contracts, worldwide contracts established from the expo, and it's just been truly phenomenal. It's been a grand slam, and we have 3 or 4,000 people that will come through the pavilion. It's 10 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday, again, July 22nd, 23rd. But also, it also has a purpose. All the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds, has always gone to a veterans organization. The first few years of the expo, it's gone to Honor Flight of Southern Illinois and Operation Honor Guard. And then this year, I found out about the need to enclose the arena at Giant City Stables for our veterans equine therapeutic services, because what happens is the arena is not enclosed. Therefore, they have to suspend their program during inclement weather. So I was able to secure a $200,000 DCEO grant 3 years ago, and it's just the grant process has just now come to fruition. But unfortunately, we know what happened with COVID and materials and supplies. That 200,000 has now grown to 280,000. So the proceeds from this event are going to go to veterans equine therapeutic services, as well as specialized equine services for the services for children, the autistic children and the disabled children. So really supportive of that. We have incredible sponsors. We're going to be taking donations at the door. And a caveat too to this, it's going to be phenomenal, is we're going to be calling, it's going to have a theme called Christmas in July. So all these vendors are going to have their Christmas packages and gift sets set up where you can do your Christmas shopping in July with all these vendors. There's going to be over 100 vendors there. And then the first 200 people that attend on Saturday and Sunday are going to get a free Southern Illinois made manufactured product.
All right. Very interesting. Thank you for previewing that for us. I'm sure a lot of folks will enjoy getting ready for the holidays, especially as hot as it is outside.
Okay.
They'll enjoy thinking about cooler weather too. Well, we're going to get to an issue affecting the entire state in just a moment. We're going to talk about higher education at length. But before we do that, I do want to have you touch briefly on a couple of other economic development issues in Southern Illinois. And these are port projects in Old Shawneetown and Cairo. And you have one other piece of legislation in Cairo that I know you wanted to highlight quickly.
Absolutely. Yes. The Cairo Port Project, there's 40 million. It's a public-private partnership. It was announced by the governor in the FY19 Capitol bill, $40 million of public funds going into that. And there's scheduled over $200 million of private funds. It's been a slow process because it is a new construction with new permitting. It is still flowing. A lot of people ask about it. It's one of the number one things that people talk about in Southern Illinois. And the governor has always stated this could be one of the biggest economic development projects the Southern Illinois has seen in over 100 years. So it's exciting, but it does still have momentum. Then, as you mentioned, in Old Shawneetown, there's also a port being constructed there. It's actually a former coal loading dock in Old Shawneetown on the Ohio River there, and it's going to be a conversion to offload fertilize and containers there as well. And what's exciting about that project, since it's a former coal loading dock, it's already permitted with the Army Corps of Engineers. So that's going to be up and running, hopefully by sometime in early 2024.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on now to higher education. In June, you were at an event with Governor Pritzker at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. The event marked legislation to increase funding to higher education. I want to talk about that increase, where we are on spending more money, and your thoughts about this decision to do so.
Extremely excited to see more funding going into higher education and education as a whole, also in K through 12. But it's incredibly important that we continue to fund, especially with MAP grants, the increase of funding in MAP grants as well. And also, I was honored to have been selected this last legislative session, as the co-chair of the Higher Education Committee. It shows that we can work together in a bipartisan manner. It's the first time in many, many decades that there's been a co-chair of both the majority and minority party co-chairing a committee. So I really appreciate the administration on both sides of the aisle bringing me to the table as a co-chair. But as you mentioned, it's so important that we continue to give our students an opportunity, and especially our students, our local students here in Southern Illinois and the state of Illinois, as a matter of fact, to be having an opportunity to have the resources and the funding, as I mentioned, especially through MAP grants, to be able to keep them right here in the state of Illinois, because we have so much opportunity, especially in the 59th district that I represent, with all the opportunities for job creation, to be able to raise a family right here in beautiful Southern Illinois.
All right. Well, as a point of disclosure, WSIU is licensed, of course, by Southern Illinois University. We should say that during the event at SIU Carbondale, you noted, I thought this was very interesting, when you polled members of your student advisory council, more of those members were choosing SIU. Tell me why you think that is and what can be done, in your view, to continue that momentum.
A great point. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, my student advisory council has been phenomenal. I bring in about 100 students throughout the district, juniors and seniors. And when I had my very first student advisory council in 2017, I would poll the students, how many are planning on going to college? And I'd get a raise of hands. And then I would ask, how many are planning on going to Southern Illinois University? And then I was getting maybe a hand, some snarks, some kind of chuckles. And now it's incredible. Actually, I had one of my local high schools that had 10 students at my student advisory council, and 8 of those 10 are now going to SIU. I think it's kudos to the administration for their aggressive efforts. Obviously, we're promoting Southern Illinois University and our junior colleges as well, but especially Southern Illinois University. So we're seeing probably close to half of our students that are raising their hand that they plan on going to, or when they become, some of the juniors now are maybe anticipating going to SIU, but it's encouraging to see, especially a lot of our seniors are now directing their efforts, educational efforts toward Southern Illinois University. So I think it's just accolades to the administration for the aggressive work and to see SIU really prospering again.
Well, at the SIU Carbondale event, and already during our conversation today, you noted the real significance of the bipartisan co-chair arrangement on the Higher Education Committee, where you are co-chair of the Senate Higher Education Committee. I want to give you a chance now to talk about that and your thoughts on what is needed to further increase bipartisan work.
Absolutely. My platform has always been to work with everyone. I was elected in the 59th Senate District to represent everyone, no matter what the politics are. And that's always been my platform, to be able to work across the aisle. And I think that's been noted. It's been noted by the administration. And I think that's one reason why Senate President Don Harmon and Minority Leader John Curran and the governor's administration decided to start this process. And I think this is the beginning of more bipartisanship work. I'm not one of those that the bomb thrower. I'm one of those that tries to work with everyone. Sometimes I have very important legislation that I have to work sometimes across the aisle to ensure that it passes the General Assembly. So to have that relationship with my colleagues throughout the entire Senate, especially on the other side of the aisle, means a lot to me. And then I work with them as well to be a chief co-sponsor or co-sponsor for their legislation, especially if it's great for the district that I represent. So I think this is a great start. As I mentioned earlier, that this is the first time in a few decades that, to my knowledge, that there has been a co-chair on a committee, and especially since I represent Southern Illinois University. Of course, I represent the entire state of Illinois too when it comes to higher education. But I think it really shows the momentum and the enthusiasm to be able to work in the chamber with everyone, and that's what I was elected to do, and I intend to continue doing that.
All right. Well, at the event at SIU Carbondale, you also talked about higher education in terms of economic development, noting the so-called brain drain that happens when talented Illinois high school graduates go to an out-of-state college. I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that today, because it's often a discussion that is missed when we talk about higher education.
Absolutely. That was, the brain drain, as you mentioned, has been a concern throughout the entire state of Illinois, especially down here in Southern Illinois, where it's easy to go to Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and not have to travel far. And to see the enthusiasm that we're garnering here in Southern Illinois, and especially with all the economic development projects that we have now in Southern Illinois, with a lot of these, you see what's happening in our healthcare. There's a lot of job creations, good paying jobs. You see what's going, our infrastructure bill. We just, we have over $800 million that was just announced that's going into infrastructure improvements in my district, announced with the Illinois Department of Transportation. And you see, the education field growing, and as I mentioned, the medical field, and all these great jobs that are coming with, the meat processing plant and the ports, and just a lot of opportunities. And something that we also I enjoy promoting is our tourism. Where we live here in the Midwest is a special place to live, a special place to raise a family. I have 20 state parks, Illinois Department of Natural Resources state parks in my district, plus the incredible Shawnee National Forest, the two mighty rivers, the lakes. Our housing costs are economical. We have to continue to work on lowering our property taxes, and that's why we want to continue to fund more dollars into education, so our municipalities can lower the property tax rates as well. So I think it's a very special place. We live in a very special region. Our geographic location is incredible, and I think we have a lot of opportunity. And you see what's going on in our housing market, and that's the reason we're working hard to improve our housing market as well, to create more opportunities for students to stay right here, and to see this enthusiasm with our universities and our community colleges and growing is very exciting.
I want to ask you about another economic development issue, STAR bonds. We have a STAR bond district, as you know, in Marion. These bonds allow developers to recapture construction costs from a portion of the sales tax. Your thoughts on this program and the importance of it in economic development?
Oh, it's very important. And again, thank you for mentioning this. It's actually, we're working on some STAR bond development actually as we speak, working with the governor's office and the deputy governor as well. There's hundreds of millions of dollars of investment that's prepared to come into Southern Illinois that hopefully we'll be announcing soon. And STAR bonds is the main driver for this. So I know this has been something that we've been working on for several months on some of these developments that we're anticipating. So we're still waiting on the administration to sign off on the STAR bonds. They're working with, a lot of developers are working with the Department of Revenue. They've been phenomenal to work with. Still some work to be done on that. It is something very unique, the STAR bonds, but we see what's going on in Southern Illinois, especially in the Williamson County area, and is just scratching the surface of what's going to be coming to Southern Illinois, especially with the STAR bonds, which we're so fortunate to have.
Well, Illinois has also recently seen a growth in tourism. If you talk to economic development experts, most highly support tourism because it brings in dollars from outside the state. What do you make of the tourism work that's being done in Illinois, and where we go from here?
Absolutely. The governor and the administration is earmarking a lot of money toward tourism promotion and marketing. In fact, some of that's going to be coming here to my district to be able to market Southern Illinois throughout the Midwest, especially. And as I mentioned, I have 20 state parks, the Shawnee National Forest. Tourism is growing like it's unbelievable. And you see what's going on in the industry of campers and boating and fishing and hiking and kayaking. List goes on. And there's a lot of investment. We had the budget impasse, a few years ago, which was devastating to our tourism. It's devastating to the state of Illinois as a whole. But to be able to see investment going back into our state parks, we're improving our campgrounds. We're building a new OHV park, the Sahara Woods State Park in Saline County, that's going to be opening up this fall. That's going to be a huge driver to bring more people into Southern Illinois. And you see, the Golconda Marina, there's been a lot of investment in it. The Fort Defiance State Park, there's going to be some economic improvements there. List goes on and on. Dixon Springs, a lot of this investment, and I I travel around my state parks a lot. I really do. I have an initiative called Southern Illinois Treasures that's on my senatorfowler.com website to really promote tourism. And it's fun to drive through our state parks, especially our Shawnee National Forest, and look at the license plates and all the different states that people are flowing in. And that's the reason why we're going to continue to work toward creating more campsites for individuals to stay here and come to Southern Illinois and visit. So it's really exciting. Tourism is a huge economic driver to Southern Illinois. Some of my colleagues, since I've been in the state Senate, have been traveling, having family vacations down here in Southern Illinois, and they contact me or I meet with them while they're here, and they say, "This is unbelievable. We didn't know what you had here. It's phenomenal."
It really is. I know anytime I have visitors taking them to Giant City State Park or Ferncliff, incredible highlights of their visits, and one of the investments that Illinois makes, of course, allowing free admission to those parks to allow everyone to go regardless of their income. We have about 5 minutes left, Senator, in our conversation today. We've talked about a lot of positive things, but I do want to touch on something that some argue is a long-term need in Illinois, an effort to cut property taxes in the state. As you know, I'm sure you hear about this from your constituents all the time. It's a major concern for people, and I want to give you a chance to address it.
Absolutely. That's why it's so incredible to continue to improve with our local government distributor funds to be able to continue to increase those funds going back into our local governments. And you're seeing that with this administration as well. And also our continued to be able to invest more dollars in education or K through 12. You know, we know a lot of our property taxes, more usually in most communities and most counties, over 50% of your property taxes are going to education. And education is one of the most important things that we do. So we hope to be able to continue to fund education at a higher level, so those companies, so these counties and cities can, you know, offset some of the property tax costs to the citizens. You know, we do have some of the highest property taxes in the country, and that's something I don't think we're paying enough attention to. I know we are as legislators, but on the statewide level, you know, we have to do everything we can to continue to alleviate property taxes. You're seeing other states announcing, you know, certain percentages of property taxes are now being cut. And that's why another reason why we're having, you know, an out-migration of some people leaving the state of Illinois, especially in the northern part of the state, because of the high property taxes. You know, with the cost of homes that have been going up, well, what's that do to your property taxes? Obviously, it increases your property taxes, and it's driving citizens to other states. So that's something it's a priority of our caucus, and it's going to be a priority for hopefully for the entire state of Illinois to get those taxes down, give some pressure off these homeowners, so we can continue to improve our housing market. It's one reason why our new housing has been diminished a little bit because of what it costs in property taxes after it's constructed. So it's something that has to continue to be a top priority, and this continue to fund education at a higher level will hopefully help alleviate some of that pressure.
Something I'm sure we'll revisit in future conversations as the legislature tries to work on this issue, because it's such a long-standing concern and issue in the state. Our final time together here, just a minute or two left. Any other things that you'd like to see done by the legislature to bring more people to Illinois and keep the residents and businesses that we already have?
Absolutely. One thing that we're really working hard on, and I've been a strong proponent of this, is workforce development, vocational training. The former Golconda Job Corps is in the process of being repurposed for vocational training, working closely with our trades, our apprenticeship programs. You're going to be seeing more money going into apprenticeship dollars going into Southern Illinois. We've been kind of left out of that down deep south. So you're going to see some of our dollars stay going into working with our trades and our community colleges. And it's encouraging to see our SIU and our community colleges increasing their vocational training and workforce development initiatives to be able to give the proper training that we need to be able to stop the people from leaving the state of Illinois and to be able to give them the resources they need, especially those that have been somewhat less fortunate, to show that there's opportunity to be able to go to work and stay right here in some of the most amazing part of the country, right here in beautiful Southern Illinois.
Absolutely. Well, Senator, it has been a delight talking with you today. Thank you for taking some time out for us and talking about all of these important issues. Senator Dale Fowler joining us today. Senator, thank you for being here.